everybody? Welcome to episode 83 of Powerbombshells. If I can speak, I am Sam. Mel is back, and we have a special guest with us today. We have JD here, who you might remember from Brace for Impact and the Mike and JD show. They have taken their show. They're taking their talents elsewhere, and so we're glad to have JD here with us. We had planned to have JD here for the whole show, but real life things happen, so he will just be here for a little bit of the show. But we are glad to have you here regardless.
There you go.
Well, thank
this
you.
is my show. This is my hat, guys. Sorry.
Oh, I like the hat. I wish I had brought in a hat as well. I kind of need one. I need a haircut. Mike wears a hat all the time. I think that's more because he's bald than anything else.
It wasn't supposed to become a thing, but it is now. And I tried to get the closest thing to Patrick Dempsey's like a funny hat.
Oh, yeah. I see it. Okay.
But it just hasn't. It's like brand new.
So you got to work it. You got to work it a little bit. I remember when I was a kid, you had to have when you had the baseball mitt, you had to have your dad running over with the car and park it overnight so it would break in a little bit. So similar with the hat.
Yeah,
breaking in a pair of soccer boots takes something.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh man, if you want to, like, your cleats are like your best friend. So so you have to find the right. I mean, you'll get this. I know you'll get this because of your background, but like you have to get the right feel of them. Like, I can't wear Adidas shoes because I have wide feet and they're made for narrow shit. So I had to go Puma, and nobody I knew was wearing Pumas. I was like the only weirdo wearing Pumas. And
I've worn Asics wrestling shoes since 1994. And if I try my hand at Adidas or Nikes are big now, or Rudis has their own, they don't fit right. I have this big flat feet and like I'm kind of clumpy steppy. So like I need to have, and I bought a brand new, I've had the same pair of wrestling shoes for like 8 years because I'm super cheap, as Mike can attest to.
Well,
and like I needed a new pair this year because they finally blew out. And these things, I've been trying to break them in for like over a month now, and they still don't quite feel right. My kid's in soccer now, and we haven't run into quite that with his cleats.
The little guys, when they first start, they're fine. It's when you hit, like, my niece just turned 11, and this is going to be the time where she starts, like, she's first year in middle school. Like, I think this is the time when you start to have your tweaks about that stuff.
I can see
that's been my experience as a player and as a coach of kids that like can run around in their little like Spider-Man light up shoes and play soccer.
Boys are like that too with their wrestling shoes. They start developing their own tastes of stuff. They want their socks a certain way. Yep. They need to have everything like cool. I'm sure I was like that at some point too, back when I gave a shit about, how I looked. But I'm like, now it's all about comfort.
Absolutely. I was always comfort because I never worried about my looks because I was like, well, I'm out on that. So no, I can't compete with the girls on my team. So it's not worth it. It was just like, the only thing was like, okay, well, I'm wearing, shoes that nobody else can wear. But I was just like, I got my thing. But it was my dad. What happened was I made varsity my freshman year. And that was my dad took me to the sports store and we got me my grown-up gear.
Gear. Yeah, that's
I had my club gear that I wore for, years that was comfortable and stuff, and did a lot of that. But I got my first set of like, I am a varsity player now and I must have the right shoes, and you know how it is.
Oh, I know exactly how it is.
I know.
We took Andy to get his shoes for this year's soccer for second grade, and we went to usually I just go to the place in town, but this time we went to, Dick's Sporting Goods big store, and he goes to me, he goes like, Dad, this is second grade. It's time to be serious. And I was like, okay, bro, let's do this. Let's get some shoes. And I'll be damned if he hasn't taken it way more seriously. Like yesterday, all his little friends were like kind of half-assing it, and he's running around the field, and he just comes up. He's like, nobody tries. And he was all frustrated. I'm like, oh man, you're going to be just like your dad. I'm so sorry. Like, it's going to be a rough time for you, kid.
Oh man, that's my entire background. Coaching them, playing. I 2 to 12 was my main thing, but for like I ran a region out in the Pacific Northwest for 7 years, running a soccer program. So they're funny. They're all different about how they get into it.
And that's like I was always high school. Like I've been a high school wrestling coach for 20 years, and then I started doing the little kids when my kids started in kindergarten. And so they like, oh, JD, you can just go work with the little guys. I'm like, okay, no problem. The 5-year-olds. Oh my God, what a nightmare. First day of practice, I was lying on the mat going, this is unbelievable. And my friends were just cracking up like, yeah, it's hard, isn't it? I said, this This is like a complete culture shock. I feel like I know nothing about this sport, and my own kid doesn't even listen. This is hell.
I gotta ask you this because it's relevant. Is that every sport has a word, like a term that they come up with for I learned from the hockey people because we used to have a place by a hockey arena, and so I learned from them. They called it cluster puck. We used to call it great ball or amoeba ball. Is there a wrestling for the 5-year-olds, like when they get in a big tangle?
A cluster fuck would be the word I would use.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, but I was going for the play on words.
We don't quote. No, we don't. No one in wrestling's that creative or no one's that witty. So we just put the correct word on it. It's the tot group officially. The kindergarten and first graders are the,
I got that.
tots.
Yep. Pre's and tots. That's how we did our programming too. So I hear you.
It's the nightmare room is what we refer to it as. So you can go in charge of the nightmare room. I moved my kid up last year to the bantam room just so I could get out. Like I said, he'll still wrestle in tots, but I can't be in that room anymore. I just can't do it. I'm like, all his friends are bantams. We're just gonna put him with the bantams.
He'll be fine. It's good.
He got his ass kicked in the room, but he got better. So
you're lucky. See, but you're lucky because you are the coach. Like you are a coach. You are able to be like, I can assure you.
I know.
I've got these like amateur parents who think that they're like always telling me that their kid could play in the higher level, and I'm like, oh no, they couldn't.
Oh yeah, that's every parent thinks their kid is. Every parent thinks their kid's amazing. And I know for a fact
our version of that is every parent thinks their kid is Pele. That was our saying.
Yeah, it's the same over here. Like they all think that they know what's going on. They all think their kid's going to be, phenomenal, the next Jordan Burroughs. Like I'm fully aware that my kid is just having fun, and I'm trying to lead by example. Be like, hey, let's not go crazy. Let's not be insane. And yet I'm sitting there when he's about to wrestle. I'm getting sweaty. I'm getting all like nervous and stuff like that, trying to put on a brave face. And I'm like, I looked at my wife and like, this is worse than like 2 years ago we wrestled for the state title, and it was like it was super stressful, and I was like into it. I was so in love with it. The next day my kid had the regional tournament, and I was more nervous for that than I was for two top 20 national programs going against each other for the state championship. I'm like this is insane. What's wrong with me? So I mean, like, it's being a parent is certainly a different challenge than just being a normal coach.
I can imagine. I not had that experience. My father was my coach though, so I can only imagine. And I mean, with girls, it's a whole new world.
Well, here's what's cool about wrestling is like girls wrestling is the fastest growing sport in America. Like every year we add more programs in the girls wrestling. They're starting to enter the Division I college ranks. One of the girls I used to coach was like one of the first girls recruited to the University of Iowa, which was really a cool thing. So like when they're little, they don't split them up. So Andy's workout partner was my principal or my boss. Her daughter and my son are workout partners.
Yeah.
And he's bigger and stronger, but she's faster and more skilled.
Mm-hmm. So
she gets to his legs and she takes him down, and he gets really mad, and he'll get around her and he'll headlock her over. And these two, they're like best friends, but they try to beat the shit out of each other. It's great. At that age, there's not much physical difference between the two.
Nope.
So
we did the same exact thing with soccer. Yeah, I was co-ed until junior high, I think.
Yeah. I think junior highs with them, we split it up for wrestling too. Now
even then we used to do, because we wanted to, we would do for fundraising, we would do pickup games, boys v girls, because we had played together. We had literally all played together since we were 5 years old because we lived in a little town. So
and wrestling's becoming like that too, because the girls just got recognized as a sport, but our good girls, like there's such a gigantic chasm between the talent, the good girls, and the girls that are not really, that are just trying out for the first time. It's a huge gap. So our good girls are working out in our varsity room with like the rest of the boys just so they can get a workout in, because it's not fair to them to ask them to wrestle down, right? And it's not fair to the girls who aren't ready yet to have them wrestle kids that have been doing it for 5-6 years. So it's easier to just put them in with the boys, and they'll figure it out.
Dope. That's awesome. Sorry, Sam, we stole the whole thing with sports.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. I was like, I just know that he's on a time limit, so I was just like, well,
I had a bit too. I was going to start my stopwatch and everything, and now I screwed it up, man. Mike,
I was actually going to ask. I was going to reach. I'll have to reach out because my watch says. I mean, you got a good talk in there, so you probably got 75% of the talk in there. And also, just so we're clear, Power Bombshells was the first all-women's show on Fight Game Media to platform a male Voices of Wrestling host.
That's true.
Because Mr. Jeff Hawkins was the original honorary broad OG.
That's true.
Thank you very much. Go Hawks, Mike. So there.
Mel's got to get all her shit in real quick.
I had to.
Usually I'll kick back and just listen at this point. This is hilarious.
We're gonna have the best like frenemy feud ever. It'll be hilarious. It'll be the most hilarious shit talking ever.
Oh, well then I gotta get Mike. We gotta get you guys back on with our show then now. Now that we're on the different network. It's
we'll have to have you back.
Interpromotional.
Crossover shows, they're big.
Yeah, they are.
All right, let's get to this though, because you guys have a thing that you need to iron out.
Right? So I threw out a challenge several months ago that has not been met yet. So I'm just I've come to follow up on said agreement.
He has. Yeah, so I've talked about this before, but if I'll catch you guys up. So last fall I was on Brace for Impact, because it was still Brace for Impact at the time, and it came up because I was talking about how I don't watch Impact live. I always watch it on the DVR because it's on when Grey's Anatomy is on, and I have watched every single episode of Grey's Anatomy. I still do. And so we started talking about Patrick Dempsey, and the topic of Can't Buy Me Love came up. I have never seen the movie before, and that shocked them, and they were like, you have to watch it. And I had planned to, and then things happened and never got around to it. And so we talked about it again, and so when they debuted I think it was your debut show over on VOW, I was in the comments, and they called me out
as we do
for still not watching it. And so we decided that but then later in the conversation, so I will watch it. But later in the conversation, somehow they were talking. Mike was talking about watching Ken Burns' documentary on country music, and I was saying that I don't listen to country music, like modern country music, except Chris Stapleton. But I grew up listening to country, and I loved it. JD, not a fan. Yeah. So JD threw out the challenge that if I watch Can't Buy Me Love, he will listen to country music songs that I select for him. And so now we are here to iron out all the details of how this is going to play out.
This is what I do. When I get people to do something I want, I volunteer myself for torture. Like I made a deal with Regular Scott that I would watch Raw for a month if he did something. All I know is I had to watch
that
shitty ass show for a month, and
But it was fun to listen to you, but
well, that's what I do. I mean,
it's okay. Like it gave you such wonderful material to bury things with that. I mean, it's like it's worth the experience, you know.
It truly is the company that keeps on giving me an ulcer.
Ain't that
when you made that deal, I was like, man, more power to him, because I couldn't sit through 4 episodes of voluntarily sit through 4 episodes of Raw.
Eventually, I just had it on. Like I'd be doing like schoolwork. So not only am I doing this, I'm in grad school. So I just put it on in the background when I was doing my schoolwork and would check it out. I'm like, ugh, and I'd go back. My only worst thing is at least I didn't agree to watch NXT.
That's kind of how I did it when I did the Road to Mania. I did not watch NXT. I watched Raw, SmackDown, and the lead up pay-per-views. So
Brad's got us. He said, I think it was if one of the Usos pinned Roman on one of the PLEs. That's what it was.
That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. I'm like, they're not gonna do. I was wrong. Yeah.
You were like I think Jesus. If I remember, I think you were like epically wrong.
Oh, I was like horrendously wrong, and I watched it.
But it made for such. It was so beautiful, and I enjoyed every list. Not the part of it. Like I don't want you to torment yourself, but like the audio and video content that I got out of that made my life better.
Well, I'm a giver. Like I give myself a hard time sheerly to entertain people, and I had a hunch I would lose that bet. But I thought it would be really funny if I did. And Mike, as always, twists the knife in deep. He's one of my dearest friends in the whole world, but I hate him. So what are you going to do? So Can't Buy Me Love is a film from 1987 starring one Patrick Dempsey. Launched his career I think the female lead passed away recently. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Yeah,
from Maine. From Maine, one of the few famous people from Maine.
Man, you guys got the best famous person from Maine. You got Stephen King.
Don't get started, JD. You won't have enough time to get started. I graduated from the same high school as Stephen King. Just not obviously years apart, but
that's so cool. Like my favorite writer.
My mother went to prom at Carrie, the prom that's Lewiston High School. Yeah. That was basically based on. My mother went to their prom back in the day. We could go on forever.
Was there telekinetics going on?
I'm not going to talk to you. You don't have time. You need to talk about Can't Buy Me Love. You'll have to talk to me about Stephen King on another occasion. I'll tell you all kinds of stuff about my haunted high school.
Mike and I just started our own Patreon feed, right?
I was just about to say, Mel's going to have to go over to the Patreon.
No, and I did that. Because Mike said you have to do your own show. And I'm like, I don't want to do my own show. So, but I do like a 20-minute thing where it's just me kind of verbal diarrhea essentially for 20 minutes a day, and I reviewed the new Stephen King book just this past episode. I'm a huge fan.
I saw that. Yes, because so I knew that you had it ready
I will stop talking because I will not stop if I don't govern myself at this point.
Now you're gonna have to live with knowing that you know someone that graduated from the same high school.
That's so cool. Okay, focus.
So Can't Buy Me Love.
What kind of crap you making me listen to, Sam?
Well, that's what we're here to lay out. Exactly. So I'm gonna make you. There definitely will be Chris Stapleton, just because he's the only modern country singer I listen to. But I don't know who that is. You're gonna learn. No, Chris is.
Only if you watch the show.
I love that guy. I've just found out that he is going to be opening for George Strait when George Strait comes here next year. And so George Strait is somebody I grew up listening to. He was King George is what he is known as. He was really big in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s. This man has one of the epitomes of 90s country. And so he's doing, I don't know if this is his final tour because he's getting up there in age, but he's doing a stadium tour. They're going to be playing Bank of America Stadium. And I just found out a few days ago that Chris Stapleton will be opening for him. So tickets go on sale on Friday, and I'm going to see, I don't know if it's in my budget. Stadium shows are not cheap. No. So I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but I've not seen Chris Stapleton live, and I haven't seen George Strait live. So
I know the name George Strait.
Yes.
Didn't he do like a bull riding movie in the 90s or something like that?
Yes, he did.
He's older school country, the kind of country I like.
He did Pure Country is the name of the movie. He plays bull rider. Yes, and there is a sequel which I think I've only seen parts of, but yeah. So, and the big song from the soundtrack was Cross My Heart, which was a really big song. Shows clip. There's back in the day, back in the day when they would show, people would make videos for the movies, and then they would show like scenes from the movie. Sometimes give away the movie. That song has clips from the video. From the movie in it. But yeah, so George Strait, there will be some George Strait on this list. And so that's Mel made a point because I was trying to figure out like how long does the playlist have to be? How are we going to do this? Mel had an idea that the playlist should be the same length as the movie. So the movie is 1 hour and 34 minutes.
That's fair.
And so I can make a playlist. But Nikki pointed out that some songs are really great, but you need the music video with them. So I don't know how we would.
I disagree. If you have no tangential connection to the material whatsoever, you don't need the music video.
The reason I think she's pointed out is there's specifically two. Listen, 90s country music videos could be very dramatic. There are two songs that in particular, they are actually there's three of them.
She could take the country and out of that sentence, and I think it would still be a completely relevant sentence.
Completely.
There's a trios of videos from Travis Tritt, and it's a 3-part story. The third part, you don't necessarily need to see it. The first two are devastating. And then the song that goes with it. And so I was like, how? And Nikki was like, she's like, you can't just put those songs in the playlist. Like, you have to have the videos with that. And I was like,
I think that JD should have to watch them because he's a storyteller and he should be forced to listen.
Damn. No,
what? It's 1 hour and 34 minutes and 3 videos. You can't do that?
I could do.
I mean, I know that you have a real life, but you're constantly. I mean, come on. There's going to be time. You've got to be like during detention or something when you have to sit in the room and don't care.
I don't have to work detention. I've gotten out of that. I don't do anything like that.
You coach. You don't have to do that shit.
And I run the video department. I do a lot.
You are smart. See, you've got it made.
Right.
You know.
Brad says if Sam is watching something, JD should watch something too.
Whose side are you on? That's fair. That's fair. I've lost that negotiation point. So you're comparing these music videos talking about like the trio. It's similar in my mind to the Guns N' Roses trilogy of videos.
Yes.
Right. It was November Rain, and then I'm blanking on the other two because they couldn't quite finish the trilogy because Axl lost his mind and he wanted to sing with dolphins instead. So you never quite got the trilogy connected.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, but I know what you're saying.
Yes. And the third one, I'll put the third one in because it rounds out the story, but it's the first two that will are the gut wrenching.
All right, I'm writing this down here. So. 1 hour and 34 minutes of country music and these three videos.
Okay. So when do we? So how are we going to do this? So am I going to watch
time limit?
And you're going to watch and you're going to listen, and then am I going to come on to the Patreon and we're going to talk about it? Is that?
Oh no, we'll have you on the main show. Come on the main show and talk about this. We're going to make you stay up late. We're going to make you go on Hawaii mic time.
That's fine. I'm a night owl, so that should not be a problem.
I get up at 5:30 every morning, so my Fridays are god awful because I have to do our show. And as we saw by not going live on Thursdays, our numbers suck when we're not in our normal time slot. So Mike and I have said this. Okay, we have to stay where we belong.
Yeah, so, that's how we are too.
People are creatures
people know to come. Yeah, I was gonna say people know to come here Sundays at 1 o'clock. So
all right. So what am I? I have this theory on country music that if you didn't grow up with it, it's super foreign to you. And my parents were from the city of Chicago, and they just none of them ever were country music fans. My mom probably listened to a little bit of Kenny Rogers in the 80s because who didn't? But it wasn't it didn't permeate our household culture. I grew up with 60s and 70s music,
I did too.
Music. I just never heard the country stuff. And then when Garth Brooks got big, I remember just being everybody likes him. Well, I can't like that guy if everybody else does.
Well, of course,
right?
It's
funny because I definitely I grew up listening to country music, but I listened especially both of my parents. So my mom loves music, and so I always grew up listening to oldies, 60s and 70s stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She beach music. My mom was a huge Elvis fan. That's where I've listened to Elvis since I was a kid. And so then I listened to a lot of pop stuff. As much as I was listening to country, I was listening to MC Hammer. I was listening to Paula Abdul. I was listening to New Kids on the Block and stuff like that. So I was listening to a wide variety of things. And so I went back and I listened to because of where I'm at, obviously in the South, I had obviously a lot of acts. There's two country music stations in Charlotte. There's two huge stations. There's two big pop stations and there's two big hot AC stations. And then there's two big classic rock stations. So I have I grew up listening to classic rock because of my dad. So I have a wide spectrum. But yeah, I think you're right that if you're not exposed to country, then that's definitely.
We had 190 station, but because I was in rural, because Maine is small and Portland, Maine is a big city only in Maine. It's not a big city compared to Chicago and Detroit and Seattle and LA and places that are actually big cities. So it's fun. It's cute. It's adorable. But we had the 90s alternative, the classic rock, and the country. Those were our stations basically. So, and my dad was fortunately an OG, so he liked Johnny Mathis and George Strait and Johnny Cash and that kind of stuff. That's the country I like. I have a puppet called Ricky Skaggs because I was asking my dad what
Ricky Skaggs is amazing.
My puppet, it was a pelican puppet and his head moved around. And so I was like, Dad, who is this? And he's like, Ricky Skaggs. And I'm like, no, my pelican. And so with that pelican to this day, my sister, when she talks about that thing, she calls it is now named Ricky Skaggs. So
hilarious.
Wonderful.
My only touch, you two appreciate this. The only touch I really have to country music was WCW when you'd watch WCW Saturday night. and the commercials that have those Time Life, like the best of Alabama and stuff like that. So
Yes.
I learned like
Alabama is my
my dad was an Alabama fan.
I know a few hooks to
Alabama
because they were because of those like Time Life commercials.
That might have to go on the
that are etched in my brain. So that's it.
Pretty sure they played mountain music on the. I think Bob told me that they used to play mountain music on the way out the junior high dance. That was the Play Everybody Out song.
Ours was Take Me Home Tonight from Eddie Money.
I can't remember what ours was. I'm gonna have to think on it a little.
Brad said he's from New York, but he'll rock out to Dolly, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and even some Tex.
Yes.
Okay, no Johnny Cash. That
I will put some Johnny Cash on there. Johnny, I didn't realize until, and it makes sense, but Tuesday made 20 years since he had died. I can't believe
it's been that long.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I saw the tweet because it came from his estate, and they're re-releasing something on vinyl, and I was like, what? 20 years already?
Wow.
Like, how? That's insane.
And part of the reason I've been pushing this so hard is I want Sam to watch Can't Buy Me Love Too.
No, I really want to see it.
I have seen it. You guys made me, it reminded me of it. It reminded me of how many times I had seen. I'm actually going to watch it too, just because I think it would be hilarious to watch it after I haven't seen it in such a long time. But it was on so many times when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
It was on over and over and over.
Like, I don't remember
HBO had like a rotation where they'd have the same movie on in the morning at a certain time and the afternoon at a certain time.
Yeah, I never remember that movie being one of the ones that was on. Like, I don't remember having. I mean, and it's funny because I was gonna say I don't remember having access to it, but like we obviously had a Blockbuster and like we were there all the time.
Almost 5 years older than you though.
So
that probably tracks about right.
Right. So yeah, it's so funny that it's that
I love
that
it.
was
I'm
not
excited.
something that was on TV. On TV all the time here. But
I was talking about this with my kid. Mentioned is on because I discovered this on HBO too. There's so many movies that I found on HBO growing up as a kid because in the 80s, parents just put you in front of the TV. Whenever it was on, you discovered it. And I wondered it with my kid. I'm like, how is he going to discover movies? Right? Because for us, it was just like I could think of so many movies I just stumbled upon, like Stand By Me, one of my all-time favorite movies.
Oh yeah,
it was in the HBO rotation, right? Like They Live, same thing. It was in the HBO rotation, and like I can't think of how kids growing up today can like find things.
Right.
Like it's all so algorithm driven. Excuse me. It depresses me, and I sound like an old man saying.
No, but it's
no.
True.
I feel you.
We had
have
access
this
to it. Yeah, that's how we found stuff, and it's
because it was limited content. They only had so much TV that had been made, and they were trying, but they had a lot of air to fill, so we got all of this stuff. But now it's.
And we got the stuff that was just off because it was the release was you would go to the theater, it did its run, then it would go to home video, and then it would do its run, and then when it was done with home video, it would debut on HBO, Showtime, whatever. Right. So like a year after the movie came out, it would finally be on HBO. Yep. So like the stuff that came out like 87, we were watching in like 88. That's how it went back then. And now it's just, geez, I took my kid to see the Ninja Turtles movie in like early August.
Yeah.
And we already own it on.
Yeah,
on
I saw
Prime.
it the other day. I saw an ad and I was like, it was for, I can't remember what movie it was. It's something that just came out. And I was like, what do you mean it's already available to purchase? Like, what? I was like, did that movie just come out?
Yeah, they give these movies such short release dates now. Like,
and I know part of it too is obviously because of the pandemic and people weren't going to the movies. So they were like rushed. They've changed the way. And I guess because that model is working, they're keeping it. And now because there's nothing new, nothing new coming out, but because of the strikes and stuff, then obviously, so they're trying to feed people content to.
There's about to be nothing new coming out. In about a year, it's going to get real bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So there's going to be such a bad.
Pay people.
Yeah, pay people.
Okay. So let's set the terms. When are we doing this?
Okay. I can do. Let's see. There's no.
You guys are on.
It's like
Fridays,
there's no.
Right?
We're on Thursday nights at 10:30 Central.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say there's no tournaments. I do need to catch up on No Japan, but there's no tournaments like G1 and BOSJ in my way. And I have depending unless I'm catching up on like GCW or something, I usually have my Mondays and Tuesdays free. So I could do it as soon as this week, but or if we need some time so that you can, because I got to make the list and all that.
You got to make a list. So let's say the week after.
So wait, so today is the 17th.
Today is 17th. My phone is my camera.
I got it. I'm on the. I got a calendar up for you. So today's the 17th. So you said you wanted to do not next week, but the week after.
It's like roughly 10 days, right?
So that would be September or I'm sorry, October 5th. Thursday, October 5th.
Wait.
Do we sign in blood?
Sure. I mean, that's what you would do in the 80s.
And we have to docu-sign.
Or you would spit in the hand and shake if you did do the blood.
You have to docu-sign.
Which is grosser than blood, actually. Now that I think about it, that's disgusting.
Yeah, it really was. I don't know.
Okay, wait. So hold on. So we're doing. So the October 5th show is when I'll come on your show, right? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Deal.
That works.
And then you put that list together for me. Because what's great is my classroom. I have music playing in my classroom all day. So that will, if you can put together a Spotify list, I will torture my kids, and they will have this. They will have to go through the same exact.
Oh, perfect! Expose them to country music. Yes.
I might lose my job.
Now I can't wait. I can't wait for all the kids that become fans of this and start asking you. They start asking you to play that country music some more.
Well, here's the thing. It's like
kids are so funny like that.
Where I live is really an interesting place. Like DeKalb is a very famous. It's where barbed wire was invented. It was a rural town forever, but it's a college town, and now it's like got a big influx of people from the city moving in. So we have a super diverse student body. So I got hillbilly kids. I got kids that, a little bit more in the, the urban thing. Like, so it's going to be real interesting. And I teach a shop.
You're basically you're Chicago, right? You're Chicagoland area.
No, I'm not Chicagoland area. I'm about 60 miles west of the city. So we're we're considered rural, but we're a big school. We're a college town. So we're a big school in the middle of nowhere. Weird. Like we're in the same town as Northern Illinois University.
Yeah, it sounds like you have the makings of an 80s movie.
A little bit.
With all the kids on different sides of the track.
Tons. You got golf course kids. We got kids who live in Section 8. It's kind of why I like coaching there, to be honest.
You could throw in a rom-com, or you could make a horror flick. You've got two options there.
I'll tell you what, I would. Never mind. I don't want to get fired.
I don't want you to get fired.
I've had thoughts some days. Let me tell you.
As a supplemental educator and coach, I hear you. Yes. I took care of them between you and the parents. I was the people in between. So
Brad wants to know when they're outlawing dancing at your school.
We're not that rural. Where I live, the town I actually live in, where my kid goes to school for now, that might happen. That could be a thing here.
Listen, they're banning books. They might start banning dancing too.
They're
John Lithgow's still around. Can you talk some sense into
still around? People? I saw that they're auctioning off. They're doing. People are like auctioning off. Actors are auctioning off things to raise money for, I guess, like writers who are out of work. And John Lithgow will. One of the things I happened to see on Twitter yesterday is he will do a watercolor of your pet or something like that for like if you win that.
Maybe he should cosplay the Reverend from that movie and go give them a talking to. Because
I think I would actually like to own a watercolor from John Lithgow. That's a great conversation.
That'd be kind of fun.
Right?
Brad said, I want John Lithgow to paint my dog, and I don't have a dog.
Well, I got Astro lying down here.
Imagine a dog for me. Here's some details.
A dog for you, and name it Ricky Skaggs.
I got Astro sitting here taking a nap, and I'm like, I would like to know what John Lithgow how he would paint my dog. That's fascinating, actually.
Yeah, it was something I saw on Twitter yesterday. It was like linked, so I think it's like through eBay or something, and you can bid. And it was like random things, like you can have like if you're in LA, you can have lunch with somebody, and then I forget somebody was like offering to walk your dog. If you're in LA, it's some actor, I can't remember who it was, and then there was like they're giving away like Zoom, like there's like Zoom things like with a cast of a TV show. Like there's a couple, there's like some crazy things that they're doing to. And then I think the money goes to writers or something like that.
That's very cool.
Just wants WWE to hire like all scab actors and writers and shit to do their freaking show for them.
Isn't that what we saw on Friday?
That was exactly
actors coming in.
Someone who now lives in strike country because UAW is on strike.
Good for them.
UAW. I'm so proud of them. Hang in there, you
too.
guys. Like it will make hopefully that'll help kick everybody else in the ass, because when the big three does something, it usually matters.
For sure. I mean, we have a big plant down the road from us in Belvedere, Illinois. So the fact that they're not working now, it's going to be a big thing here. Like I'm a big fan of the fact that finally people are sitting there saying, all right, enough of this bullshit with this top down, we need to fix this. And if this is the only way it's going to happen, it's great. Like I'm personally glad we're not on strike, but you know, it has to happen, and I'm super glad that people are taking
but it would help your cause now that UAW is there. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys you don't get it, and you guys aren't being paid properly either, and you aren't being taken care of properly either, and that's
because I was like, there's there's nurses in Seattle I think that are striking.
They have been,
yeah.
We had a contract year this year, so I thought for a minute we would go on strike, and we actually got a pretty good contract bump.
That's
so
good.
It's like, okay, can't fight this too much. So, but I mean, there was a time I thought that I would be, my second year as a full-time teacher on the picket line, but no, we avoided it.
It's tough. It's tough times.
Yeah, it is. Brad says that he works for an entertainment payroll company and it's hitting us hard now.
Oh, I believe it.
I can imagine.
What can you be doing? I mean, but it's not working. Like the system, the systems we have now. Yeah, totally. And they were set in a completely different era. Like syndication isn't really a thing anymore. So you've got to rework these deals. And if there's enough for David Zaslav to make money, there's enough for everybody to make money.
Yes. So and they're not even asking for much. Like the percentage of what they're actually asking for is not that much. And these people are wanting to wait until they force people out of their homes, and it's happening. And it's just
and when they're doing the workers dirty, doing the auto workers dirty, when they're making record profits, like, give me a break. We've got they have people in there. It's like they're not even unionized, that they can essentially slough the work off.
But look what happened 3 years ago when they asked for help, right? We threw a bunch. I say we because it's the United States of America. We gave the big three a lot of money during the pandemic, and none of that trickled down. All right, I'm going to get off my socialist.
Yes. Okay. No, it's okay. I'm totally right there with you.
I know you got to get to your
part of the people, and you got to get to your family.
Talking about this and go and let me go.
Yep, I got to go.
Okay.
I got to take the kid to birthday party. Sam, I will see you in roughly 10 days. And throw me that playlist whenever, and it will be miserable. I can't wait.
Okay. See you soon.
Mel, you owe me Stephen King talk. We'll talk later.
Absolutely. Anytime. You just let me know.
Love you guys, show.
Thanks.
Miss everybody from Fight Game.
Miss you too.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank you, JD.
Bye.
We'll make sure and plug all their show and everything. If you don't know if you don't know who Mike and JD are, then you're missing.
Yeah, we'll help you out. We'll get you links to where they're at. Yeah, in case you're not sure where they're at now that they have left. We'll get you there. So those are the terms. If you're tuning in late, we had JD on. We have said this has been going on basically since October of last year, so nearly a full year. And so we are now finally getting this settled. I have to watch Can't Buy Me Love. JD is going to listen to a list of country music songs that I make that's the same length as the film, plus 3 videos, a Travis Tritt trilogy. If you're familiar with 90s country, you know what 3 videos I'm talking about. And then I will be going over to Mike and JD's show on October the 5th, and we're going to talk about it. So we'll definitely be plugging it. Once it gets closer, we'll put it on Powerbombshells. If you guys are into country music, particularly 90s country, if you have any suggestions that you think he needs, please feel free to send those my way, and we'll see if it fits.
And I think if you guys are comfortable with it, you should probably share your playlist.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll let JD
put that on our social media. Yeah, we'll put it on there after you guys talk about it.
We can do that. That way. Yeah, that's a great idea. So we'll let JD know that we've added that.
So in the end, all of anybody who wants to listen to that playlist that Sam comes up with can also check
and we'll link, and I'll link the trilogy of Travis Tritt videos so that you can see that. And you also can be traumatized by those videos.
But we can be traumatized together and have fun.
Yes, there we go. So Daza said Mike and JD do awesome stuff. My second favorite YouTube wrestling duo. Mike and JD are great. We love them. And for those of you who don't know, Mike is the reason I'm actually with Fight Game Media, because Mike and I used to write together. Not Mike, I'm sorry. JD and I used to write together on Fansided, and then we kept in touch, and then I saw that he was doing some stuff with Fight Game Media, and I was like, ooh, what's that? And we talked about it, and here I am. So they have
I just enjoyed their show.
They're so much fun. I love those guys.
And you know what? They've helped me a ton with production. They helped me with our original. So like just the way that the show, like some of the flow and stuff was all because I just sort of reached out to them as like, I like what you guys are doing. Like, can you? And man, just two good dudes, man, and just good brothers. That's all. It's
definitely
the wrestling bit. It turns out that you can collaborate and be friendly and like coexist, and you should. And a matter of fact, you even should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's no feuding going on between the BOW and Fight Game Media. There's none of that. It's kind of like WWE and AEW, where wrestlers root for each other. It's the fans. I mean, not that our fans are doing anything like that, but we're just saying there's no promotional feuding. Sorry.
No, I actually made a joke about it in the Discord as why is like I hung a lantern on the fact that I was like, that's what you call clickbait. I was like, find out how much heat there is between the voices of wrestling and fight game people. This Sunday at 1. And then I was like, I put the Where's the Beef Lady on there where there's no beef.
Great. Fantastic. So. Nikki said she has a whole ass country list that's primarily 90s. He could honestly just hit the shuffle button and listen there. Yeah, I've got a 90s country playlist as well.
I am very excited about it. You're at least going to, sorry folks, because I'm on the inside, I will get a copy regardless. So
yeah.
You at least have to share with me, but
this is true.
Cool. If you guys are cool with it though, I think it'd be fun after you're done.
Yeah, that would be fun. I think that's a good idea.
Let all of our viewers and their viewers in on the
we should do that. That's a good idea. Before we get into the wrestling stuff, do you want to get to your couple of things you got?
Oh, I should actually bring those on over. So the reason I was gone last week, and I got a big giant shout out to Keela Cash for being the coolest person ever.
Yeah, she's awesome.
We were listening back on the way back from Ohio and loved it. And I was so happy that you guys had great conversations, and I love her so much. And
she's the best.
I don't know. I can't mark out enough about Kayla. I love listening to her. So it was.
I told her that you were jealous that she got to be on here while you were gone, so that she had to come back where you could talk to her, and she said that she was down anytime.
Yeah, I did hear that, and we definitely have to do that. I just had to make sure she understood. I did thank her aside, but I wanted to make sure that I definitely thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Keela, for coming
on here.
So I didn't have to talk to myself because she's always, I love getting her input on stuff. She's so much fun.
She just there's certain things that just popped me so hard during that episode that I love a good laugh. I feel good. And so I did something that I realized after the fact was the first thing is I have not been to Ren Fair since before the pandemic at all.
Oh, wow.
And I did not realize that until I was sort of standing at fair on Saturday night. And we kind of were scouting things out, what we got in on Saturday. And we did the big thing on Sunday. And part of the reason we went is because we have friends that are vendors there. But I am going to do I got to give a shout out to my friends and also some people that we met at the Ohio Renaissance Festival who were awesome because they were awesome. And we talk about like local vending and we talk about supporting local business.
Yeah.
The ultimate local kind of thing is performing at a Renaissance festival.
Yeah.
Being a performer, just like being a wrestling talent. It's very similar. And that's why I know and so it's these ladies that I'm about to show you here are the whiskey witches of willy-nilly. And they do a couple of different things, but they do a whiskey tasting event at one of the halls at the locations. And in our Discord, in the Booze channel, I posted the placemat that had all the things that we got to try.
Oh, sweet.
So you can go in there, you can check it out. You can go on the Ohio. This Ren Fest goes to the goes to the 29th of October. So if you're somewhere in the Ohio region, it's wonderful. And they're starting up Irish whiskey, then going to Scotch, which Garrett was like, I'm like, I wonder if Garrett's going to fly to Ohio.
You might.
And I had to put these gals up here. They don't have go find their social media. They're on Facebook. But the reason is they were so kind to us. They were a fantastic performance. So each of the whiskeys, I think we tried 12 maybe or 8 or something. I can't remember exactly, but they sing and they do a performance and then they tell you the story of each of the individual whiskeys. And
that's so
we
cool.
were sitting up front and we were having a great time. And I know that if we were local to this fair, because this is how it ends up happening, is you inevitably become besties with these people if you start going to fair regularly. And
right.
As I was saying to Bob earlier, there's I think it's a small group, but there's some hardcore people like us who really lean into it. If you've seen our social media and the things that we've posted.
Right.
And so it's really, really great to kind of go. And we wanted to check out other fairs previously and haven't been able to. So this was our first time. So it was my first time back at fair, first time event at a fair. They were wonderful. I got to give a big shout out to Ohio in general, because they really have a nice space compared to what is going on in my state right now. And part of the reason, I'm going to be perfectly candid, the piece of shit blood-sucking millionaire that owns the Michigan Renaissance Festival and several other Renaissance festivals in the area is a piece of trash and has done a lot of damage to the Renaissance community.
That's unfortunate.
And I can't in good conscience give him my money. And the only thing I can vote with is my wallet. So I decided to drive 4 hours to a different fair. And pay some people that have a great time. They have a beautiful space. It's well built. There's plenty of places to sit. Bob was with me. They were amazing. We saw them later in the day. They were saying hi to us.
Awesome.
Great fair. Built out parking lot. They work with the Parks and Recreation Department, so it's a beautiful ground, a beautiful facility. It's a wonderful fair. As someone who's been to a lot of Michigan and a few other fairs, we've been to a lot of the new fairs they've done here as well. Medieval Fire Fest, Nordic Fire Fest. We've got a lot around. Check this one out. It's worth it. It's worth your time. The performers are excellent. I actually got to meet the writer of one of my friend's shows.
Oh, cool. That's very cool.
And I got to see an act also that one of my good friends who is an act sort of emulated. And he told us stories about Friar Finnegan is the name of the act. And Minstrel Raven was telling us stories about how I wanted to do this thing. And so we actually caught some Friar Finnegan. He was excellent.
Oh, cool. That's
and we were
awesome.
able to chat with him and talk about our friend. And it was, in the wrestling thing, I think you could add a W before Ren Fair and just call it Ren Fair and Wrestling.
Probably so.
I think that most of you guys that I know would enjoy coming to fair with us and doing the stuff.
Yeah,
seeing
it
the things.
Sounds like a blast.
And then you and Nikki, we found 2 places that were all natural, everything, made soap, candles.
Oh yeah, I'd
smelly
be
things and beautiful things that make you. I mean, there were at least 2 booths. I was like, Sam and Nikki would be in here for at least an hour, so we have at least an hour to go see something they didn't want to do.
Yes, we probably. That sounds on brand.
And
for us.
all local, all vendor made, and so
That's
and
awesome.
that leads me to my second shout out, which is my friends. And so what they decided to do is one used to be a vendor, one used to be a talent, and they got together and they started a family and they started what I called a magical food carriage, or as those of you in the real world might know it, a food truck. But it's not just any food truck. It is a very special food truck that can be turned into a Ren Fair booth very simply and looks very beautiful. And it is called Chateau Hiblet. And I'm about to show them to you guys. Here we go. Get this on here. If I can pop this up. There you go. Fancy. And that's my picture. I got a couple of pictures for you. And what they do is the food truck is in there and they build this beautiful thingy. And I've got their contact information there.
Sweet.
Because go check out their website so you can get better crack at these pictures. And I also have a list there of the fairs that they're doing upcoming.
Nice.
this is the culminating thing is going to be the best part, but
Okay,
we'll get
I'm
there.
excited.
They make all homemade food.
Oh, cool.
There are they do a drunken mushroom dish, so there's veggie friendly stuff. They do a pork banh mi that is so excellent. Wonderful food. I have not eaten this much.
Imagine.
They do a drag. They have there's a little dragon on the end that's not in this picture that I couldn't fit in the picture quite.
Oh.
They do a dragon fire creme brulee that is, and it's all fair friendly and it's all beautiful and wonderful and it's all family run. We got to meet their kiddo for the first time since he was, pandemic little guy.
Right,
so,
right.
And they will be, this is the best part. They're from your area.
Are they?
Their home fair is the Charlotte Fair and North Carolina Fair. And so if you and Nikki were to feel it so inclined, you guys could party because that's their home. They are based in Charlotte as well.
Oh, sweet.
So they do the North Carolina Ren Fair that's listed there. That is their home fair. That is where they will be when that starts up in I think you guys are a little later in the season.
I think October is when I think it's.
Yeah,
I think
it's really cool because you guys have good weather for doing it later.
Yeah, it runs like October and then it runs like usually like the week of my birthday or the week before because my birthday is a week before Thanksgiving. So it runs like I think that's generally the time frame of that. Oh, that's so cool.
So they are your neighbors.
That's very cool. That I'm gonna have to go follow them. And
so check out the Carolina. Just go check out the Carolina Ren Fest. Go check out their Facebook. You can follow them. They are on Instagram. I just didn't have all of their little contacts because they're still obviously it's a mom and pop deal, and they've got a great staff that they're working on. But you gotta, and it's a life. It's a thing, and it's just like the Whiskey Witches, and these things. These are labors of love. These are not things that you don't make millions of dollars doing these kinds of things. And people can be very tricky, but because these are people who like to serve and they like to do these things and they love being part of the Ren Fair community, which just like the wrestling community has its dinguses,
of course.
But has such a great core to it and they're very, very similar lives. And I just wanted to make sure to kind of give those people a shout out. If you're near there, if you follow them, go check them out. They're worth
I'm definitely going to check out the ones that are near me. I'm definitely going to go make sure I follow them. That's so cool.
Yeah, they're there. And I love that because that gives me even more incentive because now I have multiple people that I need to visit in the Charlotte area.
Exactly.
It's like gives us another place to travel to. But really great experience, and so I greatly I have to especially thank Keela because she allowed me to be able to have some time with my friends who I have not seen in 4 years, sometimes with their baby that I haven't met before. I'm so glad. And also God, I miss Ren Fair. I really did. And so, more of that in the future, more to come. We didn't get a lot of pictures because we were it's the first time we've done a different fair in a different place.
Sure. That makes sense.
So that was our dry run. Of
course. So next time, but that's good. I'm so glad you got to go. I'm glad that worked out for you guys.
So glad that you guys are this network is so full of giving, loving, wonderful people.
Yeah.
I wish I could if I had FU money, I would take you guys all to fair.
That would be fun.
It would be so much fun.
Fight game goes to Ren Fair.
Fight game, that definitely would be some. That's
some Patreon content right there.
Totally. We might have to center it around yours just because there's so much good stuff there.
Yeah, there's wrestling here too, so
there's wrestling. And I think I know other performers that end up doing that to that fair in the long term.
Well,
so it could be
do it
extra special. That's where we could have our first Fight Game Media Con.
There we go. That would be fun.
Buy tickets at Brown Paper Tickets. Right. All right. Let's get to some wrestling talk.
Yes. So there's a lot of this was not planned to be a women-centric topics this week, but that's kind of how it played out, which works for us because we are big proponents of women's wrestling here at the Powerbombshells, and generally I think just at Fight Game Media. But so first I want to talk about we'll start with the first thing. So the first big thing of the week was that Becky Lynch went to NXT. She wrestled Tiffany Stratton for the NXT women's title, and Becky Lynch is the new champion. And on top of that, not only did they main event, but they drew really big numbers. They, I have it written on our notes. I was trying to screenshot everything else, but now I can't find it. But so they drew 927,000 viewers, and they ended with over 1 million in the overrun. And so it went over, I believe somebody, because a friend of mine who covers NXT, I believe he said they went over 10 minutes or so.
It was over 10 that I
and he was like, people were not tuning in to watch, whatever was coming on next, some old movie that repeats 1 million times. He was like, they were tuned in to watch Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton. Like they, and so hitting the 1 million viewer mark is incredible. And that also the women main evented on Raw as well. So they had 2 nights in a row of women main eventing, and then brought in the big numbers. And as Becky Lynch tweeted, she's her ratings Rebecca.
Ratings Rebecca. I like it. As you said, I was told women can't draw.
Yeah, I was actually told that last week while you were not here. Somebody in the comments told me that women don't draw, and that's and so I just want to say, I hope you're eating your words right now.
That looks like a number of draw.
Yeah,
right there.
And so I did find the tweets, and so they in the 18 to 49 bracket. Look, we're not ratings people here. I will watch wrestling regardless. But I'm happy when women draw ratings. When women draw ratings, I'm very excited because we have constantly been told that women do not draw. We're still being told that in 2023 that women do not draw, and that's a lie.
Empirically wrong, and that's all we're trying to say.
Right. So what I have here says that there were 850,000 average viewers in the 18 to 49 demo. That is the highest that's the highest average viewership since October of 2020, and it's the highest 18 to 49 rating since December of 2019. That is a huge deal.
I'm pretty sure Paul said that it was one of the number one things on television at the time, period. Because that's Paul Fontaine, our friend over at the Dynamite Show,
he's big
also
into
he's
responsible
for he covers the ratings for the Observer now. So he actually is. If I'm going to add, that's why the bottom line is, even he can tell you that's just not correct. It's about timing. And he will tell you the same thing we've been telling you, but he'll say it in a man's voice. So it will actually get through. It's perfect. That's why it's nice to have support on this network. But, the whole idea is like, it literally, he was like, this was like the number one thing on television for a period of time.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And Brad says that women had some of the biggest stories of the week revolving around them. They did. And then, and so, and I know there's there's been some discourse around the fact that Becky Lynch won the title. But first of all, when she was in NXT, she's the only one of the 4 horsewomen who never won the NXT women's title. So I'm glad that they have rectified that. And so,
is that true?
Becky she'd never won the NXT women's title.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, and then I was like, well, I'm glad that she got it. And I'm like, well, then can Candice LeRae get it now? Because Candice LeRae didn't get it because Shayna Baszler had it for a year because they were bringing in Ronda Rousey. So they had Shayna hold it for a year and Candice didn't get it.
They do the same thing a lot where they do
but I was like, Becky is she's a huge draw in ratings.
She's the man. Obviously. Come on.
Right. And then on top of that, to have these women in NXT be able to work with somebody of Becky's caliber is huge. That's invaluable lessons that they can learn, and to get in the ring with someone like that, because if they make it to the main roster, that doesn't mean that they'll ever even wrestle Becky. So for her to come into NXT and wrestle these women, that's incredible. And I think that I think that's huge for her. And it's not clearly it's not a step down for Becky in any way.
Hurt Becky. There's nothing that can hurt Becky right now.
Right.
She's like one of the hottest women in wrestling.
And she has been for years.
She's
and then
gonna
on top
bring
of that,
eyeballs to NXT. I don't see the downside of that.
And NXT, from what I understand, they're out of the 3 shows, they're the ones who most consistently book the women the best. That they typically have 4 and 5 storylines. They have 4 and 5 matches, on a weekly basis. That the women are featured heavily in NXT. And so to have Becky Lynch in that, and if that brings more eyeballs, then it's a win-win. And these women can learn so much from Becky. And I think having her down there is huge. And clearly she's a draw. We see it right there in print. And so that's incredible. And so I'm so happy for them. And I think that's huge. And I hope that continues. I hope that trend continues. And I hope that people will just stop saying that women don't draw. And I've noticed like they have moved the last few weeks, like they have moved women on AEW. They've been moving them on Dynamite to like the 8:30 time slot. They have been moving them, for the most part, have been trying to move them away from the 9:30 time slot, because that's generally where they've always been. That's where they tend to struggle. And so hopefully putting them at 8:30 will start turning things around so that you can quit using that argument. I mean, and when they're in these 8:30 matches, they need more than 4.5-minute matches, but that's,
Well, and they need storytelling. I mean,
there's a lot of things.
The stuff with Toni Storm that they're actually doing where she's building a story and doing things like that. They need to do more of that with more of the women. It needs to be not just one. You can't be building one singular story.
I love Toni Storm and I love what they're doing with her, but she was already an established wrestler. They need to spend some of this time on some of your up and coming wrestlers, or you need to put it on your Sky Blues and or your Bunnies or your Penelope Fords.
It needs to get moved out of the same.
I love Toni Storm. I love what they're doing with her. But I think if you're going, you need to don't just invest in the stars that are already there. Invest in some of your up and coming wrestlers, because that's how you build them up.
And they've been working really hard. I mean, Sky Blue has been.
She's been killing it. Yeah.
I mean, she's working hard. You can tell she is. I mean, she may not be everybody's, she may not be perfectly there yet, but you don't get there until you get much
since she was on, even just being on Dark and Dynamite. Dark and Elevation, you could already see that the raw talent was there. She just needed to fine tune some things, and that's what she's doing. And how does she do that? She gets on TV. She cuts promos. She works with top women. This is how you get these women to the next level. You don't put them in catering and help them. I mean, they've got to figure it out, and that's how. And
you don't put them on TV for 3 minutes and then tell me that they don't build any story and they can't draw. It's the setting you up for failure deal.
Right.
That's what it is.
Exactly. And then it's just this whole big vicious circle. And then so in AEW this week, we did see 2 great matches featuring Chris Statlander, who she had a match on Rampage, and then she also had a match on Collision. So the Friday night, first of all, the match was on Wednesday night. The match was announced that Jade Cargill would wrestle Chris Statlander. There was a big uproar on Twitter. Why is this match on Rampage? Listen, I cover Rampage. I am glad that I have a quality match to cover. I was like, good for me.
Finally, something's on Rampage.
Yes, you book Rampage better. Okay, here's this women's match. No, not on Rampage. And even Nyla
Sam's
said
here to reframe this for you.
Not because even Nyla Rose said the same thing. She tweeted the other day. She was like, "Give us better on Rampage." Well, no, not that. And she was
not like that.
Not that. And sure, this is and I agree that it's a paper, but that's at least a Grand Slam level match, if not, a full gear match. And so, but on the other hand, and that's the least watched show. Oh, okay, well, maybe tune in, watch it, set it up to record and watch it when you can.
I did.
There are paying customers at this show. give them something they want to, like, don't give them Dynamite and then you give them an hour worth of nothing and make them leave. Like, give them like paying customers.
Well, especially since those are being filmed after you've sat through Dynamite.
Right, exactly.
So give me something. I mean, when we were there, the 2 times we were there, fortunately, we got good stuff on our stuff. So it wasn't hard to stay. You almost didn't realize that you were transitioning. It was a little tougher the first time because Blood and Guts that first Blood and Guts in Detroit was so big. But they did a lot of stuff with that Rumble that they did after the fact that they repeated again this year.
Right.
And that was fun. So it made it a little easier because that's a long,
it is. It's
very like long. Sitting, as someone who's been to major pay-per-views, it's like sitting through a major pay-per-view. It's 5 hours.
The last Dynamite I went to was the Fight for the Fallen one in Charlotte. And so that was the one with Nick Gage and Chris Jericho was the main event. We sat through Rampage. Prior to that, they were like, when we got into the building, they were doing Elevation tapings, and then afterwards they filmed the 100th episode of Dark.
Another thing, they did ROH tapings. They had
so now they've changed it up a little bit. So yeah, and
it's not short.
Hello, Colin. Glad that you made it. And yes, and Brad, I was gonna say, so now we know, of course, we also now know why that match was on Rampage, but they should put important matches on that show anyway. Yes, agreed. So it comes out, so within the hours of the show being filmed, late. One of the perks of being a night owl is sometimes when news breaks late, I see it. So, but it was funny because one of my friends who writes for a website, we both write for the same website, he is in Hawaii. So it was like normal time for him. And I was catching up on, I had not finished the GCW show and I was in the middle of watching Speedball versus Rina Yamashita. And I see a message come across my phone and they're like, so Jade is going to WWE. And I was like, what is he talking about? And I was like, no, Jade is wrestling Chris Statlander on Friday. And he was like, so she's not leaving. And I was, because I had no clue what he was talking about. And so I got on Twitter and I happened to see the report from Fightful saying that Jade was supposedly done. And I was like, wait, and so he was like, oh, sorry, I should have posted this with this because I had no clue what he was talking about. I thought he was just, I was like, what is this man talking about? And
What's happening?
And then I was like, hold on a minute. And so, yeah, so then the rumors came out that Jade was finishing up with AEW, that was reportedly her last match on her contract. And then she was supposedly heading to WWE. There'd been rumors for a long time that WWE was interested in Jade, and why not? Look at her. Of course,
she's 100% WWE's jam.
Yeah, I was like, of course they're interested.
You know what it just made me think of now we were talking about Becky and moving her to NXT. As I was sitting here and I was thinking about it, and I waited until we got to this part. Mm-hmm. They may have moved Becky in there to help Jade.
That's okay. So right when that rumor broke, that's actually something John Alba tweeted. He was like, this might be why Becky won the title.
They're good person to help because Jade needs more time. She needs to be. I know that a lot of people are like straight to the main roster, and I'm like, I get what you're saying. She needs time in the ring.
Well, WWE is structured differently.
Completely differently
because nearly every indie wrestler who comes into WWE has to go to the Performance Center to learn the WWE style of wrestling. They strip you down of everything that you've learned, and they get rid of all your indie-ness.
WWE boot camp.
Yeah, basically. And then you've got WWE's, obviously, the way they film for TV is different, and so they pace things differently than other companies do. So I don't know if this is what's going to happen. What I think would happen is she goes to NXT. She wrestles Becky Lynch. Maybe she eventually wins the title from Becky. Then perhaps she either is in the Royal Rumble and stays on the main roster, or she's in the Royal Rumble, gets people a little excited for her. Then she debuts the Raw after Mania. Maybe that's how they do it. Maybe she has a Mania match. Maybe they put her in the Royal Rumble and she wins it, and that could be how they do it. But I don't see.
That seems
I understand wanting to put her straight on TV because look at her.
Of course.
She's got charisma that you can't teach. She's got the it factor.
Yep.
And the things that she's not as good at. WWE can hide and kind of work with her, so I think WWE is a really smart place for her. I hate that AEW is losing her. I think she's just I've been a huge fan of her. So of course, she needs some, there's some things in ring, which of course I've never denied that, but just her character and her presence.
But they haven't used her right either. I mean,
there's a lot of things that they could have still done with her. And so I understand
the TBS belt transition, because it was so rushed, was really
which is why, and so that's why, because people were
wasted. It felt like not completely wasted, but definitely bled a lot of what they could have. They bled a lot of potential out of that transition.
Sure. And especially because we all knew Chris was supposed, according to rumors, Chris was supposed to have won last year's Grand Slam. She was injured. So instead of having Jade drop the title to Ruby Soho, who she beat to become the inaugural champion, or they could have had her beat Mercedes Martinez could have beaten her, or Willow. She wrestled Willow 3 times. There were things that they could have done, but they clearly wanted Chris Statlander to be the one.
Yep.
So they did that, and then but the way was kind of shocking and jarring, which I get what they were going for. It just didn't translate well. So because people kept asking well, then why did she come back to Collision, and why is she wrestling her one match? I think that was why they were we will give you a redo, give you a proper match with Chris.
Yeah.
We'll send you off. Of course, we'll send you off at 60-2, but we'll give you the proper match. They got 11 minutes. And that was Jade's best match that she's had at AEW. She and Chris had so much chemistry that fans were chanting "Fight Forever." And this is awesome during that match. That is huge praise, obviously, for any match. But for Jade and Chris to get that, I thought that was really, I was so happy she got that. If that was her swan song, which it turns out it is, it was reported this morning that her contract is done and she's expected to report to the PC this week.
Oh, wow. Okay. I haven't seen that, but
yeah, I saw that this morning. I've seen that from a couple of places. So she's supposed to report sometime this week apparently there's a smoke alarm going off.
Oh my gosh.
I think we're good. Hopefully we'll be off in a minute. Sorry for the distraction. I think we're good.
I'm not worried about the distraction. I'm worried about your safety.
No, that's what I say. I don't think I've got to run out into the street or anything like that.
Paramount thing here. See, it's for me. I don't jump very much. It's I have trains and horns and all of these things all the time. So for me, it's kind of normal.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I'm good. I don't think I have to run out. If I suddenly disappear, that's why. But I think somebody's cooking or something, and it's turned on and it's right outside my bedroom door. So it sounds like it's
as it should be.
Yeah, so it's right outside my door. So I apologize for the loudness. And again, I think I'm good. I don't think I have to go run out or anything like that.
I think what Sam's trying to say is somebody burnt their grilled cheese in the other room and got to the fire, because we all know that happens sometimes. Yes. And now all of her poor animals are hiding under things mine would be.
Miley is probably losing. It's been raining on top of that, so the cat's in the house. The cat's inside. Lord. He's probably hiding somewhere.
I just don't my biggest thing is I don't need you to be the this is fine dog. It's okay. No,
yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm gonna be.
This is not worth dying over.
I don't think this is a live version of that meme.
Despite what some of the people on Twitter would tell you, it is not. It is not.
It is not fine. I think we're good.
Okay, thank goodness. It's very important.
Okay, I think it's finally stopped. I think it's under control.
I get a little worried now that since people are so stopwatch oriented and everything, that they're coming after her.
Could be. They could be coming, but yes.
I mean, although I love it because it's well, why are you guys so butthurt about it?
Right, exactly.
It's really weird. She must have hit it pretty close to the mark for you to get all riled up.
Nikki said she's sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it, Nikki.
That's fine.
I can't tell you the number of times.
But yeah,
actually, you know what? Don't be sorry. We know your fire alarm system is functioning properly. And that very reminds important.
Me. So if you need to go check the batteries in your in your alarm, please go make sure that they are working properly.
And make sure you get your pet spayed and neutered too.
Yes, please. That's
actually good advice, though.
That is very good advice. So thank Bob Barker for pressing that into so many people's brains. I hope that you all get that. But yes. So where were we at? So Jade. Yes.
Jade. We're talking about Jade. WWE.
Jade setting off alarms. As she should.
She's so fire.
She is so fire, setting off alarms. But yeah, so I think so. It sounds so. Jade is from what's being reported today. Jade is on her way to the Performance Center this week, and that's the only information that I had heard before the show started. And another reason I think that she may be that that she might be headed there, besides like money, which obviously get paid, as our good friend Jeff Hawkins would say. But she has, in the interview that she's talked about it before, but the interview that she had prior to coming back, she talked about how she wants to be in movies and she wants to be in Marvel. And she's like, my character is completely based off of Storm. I want to play her WWE. I mean, first AEW, yes, they have access to Warner Brothers and things like that, but WWE, I'm sure dangled
they're now part of a casting agency. Garrett actually talked about this.
Okay,
with a couple, not just with Dave, but he also talked about it a little bit with I think it was on Real Life. Yeah, it was with Andrew Zarian, who actually like tweeted out basically they're going to have a deal anyway.
Right. Yeah,
AEW separately, but for but Endeavor, it has Endeavor, one of their main things is the casting agency.
Okay. Yeah, so that's I figured they were
component.
So I figured they were dangling because obviously The Rock.
Ari Emanuel, I believe.
Seth Rollins isn't Seth Rollins in a Marvel movie? Didn't he film something for a Marvel movie recently? I think that he did. I think that came
possible.
out. I think it came out a couple months ago that he felt like before the strike, but I think
I know they've been in other properties. Was it Christian when he was with them? Was in Vikings, like
Edge.
It was Edge. Yep.
So they have like all these.
But and now that they're part of Endeavor, like I believe Ari Emanuel's background started like in like Studio Hollywood and stuff. Like or at least he's been doing entertainment for a long time. Right. But he owns like CAA or Endeavor is their own casting agency or something like that. It's
so that makes a ton of sense. Like Jade, so there's so many reasons that Jade like WWE makes sense for her. So I'm not. Seth is in Captain America: New World Order as the Cobra that's coming out next year. Yeah. Okay. So I knew he filmed something, but I was like, it makes so much sense for Jade to. My surprise is not that she's going to WWE. My biggest surprise is the timing. I didn't realize that she was at the end of her contract. I thought because her time off was planned time off because she had been champion for 508 days. And so like I knew that she had, so like the time off, like we knew like as soon as she lost the title Double or Nothing, like it came out like immediately that she has planned time off. They have future plans for her. Like, so AEW thought she was coming back. It sounds like and then the contract resolution, they apparently talked about some things. Clearly it didn't work, and we know WWE, not that she shouldn't, but we know WWE will dangle carrots. They will they can also say look at Cody Rhodes. I mean, he didn't finish his story, but look how prominently Cody's been featured. He's a former EVP. You're a homegrown talent. We can do all of these things for you, and we can help you get into movies. Like, so I'm sure, like, I can imagine what they presented her with. And and good for Jade. Like, apparently, we know about tribalism and things like that, but good for Jade.
I don't watch WWE, so it's, I don't.
Yeah.
And it's her, it's her choice
she's not gonna make me like, sure, I may tune in to watch her debut or something like that. I'll maybe just watch the video online, but like I'm not gonna actively watch. I mean, like I love Cody Rhodes, but I do not actively watch WWE to watch Cody. There's a lot of people over there that I love, but I just don't. WWE is not for me. Yep. And so I wish them well. I hope they do everything that they want to do. I hope that we know how they treat women in some cases, especially, Mercedes and Trinity are huge examples of that. I hope that she is not treated that way. I hope that she loves it there, and I hope she becomes an even bigger star than she already is. Like, I hope she does really well there. And
I mean, it's different now. This is not WWE anymore. It's TKO. It's Endeavor. It is WWE, but it's not Vince in charge of WWE. It's Ari Emanuel calls the big.
Well,
I'm not sure that the infrastructure.
No, Vince is in charge of the WWE side of things, though. Ari Emanuel would not let him. He has 16% control.
I know he has the 16
in Endeavor. No, but he in WWE, nothing changes.
Okay,
WWE side of things go. Nothing.
But he can still say you don't get to book. Ari Emanuel can.
No, I mean,
no.
Triple H is in charge of creative. He's not on the Endeavor board, but he is still in control of creative. As of last Monday, Vince was making changes. I mean, technically the sale didn't go through till Tuesday, but he was making changes he's off of medical leave. His medical leave is over. He's working remotely, but he was making a ton of changes he was making changes on SmackDown, and right before Select had announced this is what's going to happen, and as soon as the Select came out, 3 things got changed, and because Cedric so he's still
status quo, more money, and less oversight, because Ari Emanuel has already proven he doesn't give a crap what the boss does to people.
Yeah,
and what the talent does to people.
Exactly.
You can act any way you want to. Just see UFC.
It'll be interesting to see what Jade does and how how they use her, if she goes straight to main roster.
She handles the schedule. Different schedule. She has a kid.
Yeah, she does. She has the kid. She has her and her partner co-own a women's fast pitch team that actually this was their inaugural season. Right. They just won the championship a few weeks ago. Yeah, so she's a busy lady. She's got a lot going on, and so it'll be interesting to see. And if they put her on the house, if they send her out to house shows and things like that, and I'm sure she had some say in some of the things that she wants to do, and I'm sure so it'll be interesting. I hope it'll be, I'd love to see her in NXT. I think her and Becky would be an amazing person to learn from, and to get that experience. And one of the things that was kind of surprising is because Jade talks about wanting to go to Japan so much. And I think that if she really wanted, I think that Tony would have allowed her to go.
Yeah.
But the WWE side of it was Kairi's coming back. We have Asuka, we have Io. They are 3 of the top Japanese women's wrestler in the world. They're right here in our company. We'll put you in, you can wrestle them.
Yeah.
You can't go to Japan, but you
can meet them and you can wrestle and work with them. So
right, and you've got these 3 women who are these are 3 of the very best right here, and you can work with them. I can kind of see that maybe that's how they, how they appease that portion, if that's something she's still even interested in. But so we'll see how that plays out. But I'm happy, I'm happy for her, and I hope that she does really well wherever she goes. And so
agreed.
That is. We'll see. And then so more of the women getting lots of their flowers. So Impact 1000 was filmed last weekend, but we got the first show on Thursday. It's been split into 2 shows. And so to open Impact 1000, they brought out the knockouts. They brought out so many women. They brought out I wish I should have made a list. So they brought back the Beautiful People, who was Angelina Love and Velvet Sky. So they got brought back. They brought in Gail Kim, who still works for Impact, but they brought she hasn't competed in ring in, I believe, 7 years, I want to say. And I know I believe Brad was there at the taping, so I can imagine that he saw some really cool stuff. They brought back Awesome Kong. Jordan Grace is back. I mean, she came back the week before at Victory Road and wrestled Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna could be on her way out. Apparently her contract is about to be up, so that could also make for some interesting things in women's wrestling. If Deonna is obviously one of the premier women's wrestlers, especially in technicians, she could end up in AEW. Maybe she goes, WWE did not treat her well and they didn't do Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So Brad says that they were just at Victory Road the night before, but didn't make the TV tapings. Okay, gotcha. But yeah, so Deanna was out there. They had Giselle out there. Savannah was out there. Mickey James came back. Tasha Steeles came back. Like it was great. And they had like probably close to like a 30-minute segment just going there, getting their stuff in. They set up a really big match for next week. The women are I believe it's the main event. It's what they're billing as the greatest knockouts match in history. It's a 5-on-5 match with some of the best knockouts of the past and today. Like it was really like that. It was just really cool to see the women get treated that way and to be like they are such a big part of Impact Wrestling, because even when it was LOL TNA, like the knockouts were still like one of the divisions that were still booked well. And like that was one of my two favorite things about TNA/Impact has always been the knockouts division and the X division. Like those have always been, to me, the best parts of the show. And so Impact knows how much the knockouts mean to them, and they treat them as such, which is so nice to see. And they treat the veteran women just like they do the current women. Like they mean a lot to the women of the past, mean a lot to that company, and they make sure to point that out. And they always just make the knockouts feel really special. And then they mix it up and have some of the current women out there, which was just really cool to see them kind of pay homage to the past and the present, and just to make them feel like a big deal. And so it can be done.
I don't know. We keep seeing it be done over and over, but I'm just not sure it can be done.
Yeah, who knows?
I'm not sure. It seems impossible, even though it keeps happening.
Yeah, who would have thought?
It's so weird. It's like, I mean, who knows? Mysteries.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah.
It's tinfoil hat time.
It is.
Coming.
It is tinfoil hat time. But yeah, so it's just, I loved seeing, and even still, and then even they did a mixed tag match. They had Alicia Edwards and Eddie Edwards versus Frankie Kazarian and Tracy Brooks. Tracy Brooks came out of retirement. Then it was really cool. So they have this match, and then they kept Tracy and Frankie in the ring, and he surprised her, and they played a video, and she's getting inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame, and she didn't know. So they had her in the ring. They brought their son into the ring with them, and she just, it had her reaction. She clearly was very surprised and overwhelmed. Like it was just a really, really cool moment. And so it's cool to see like women getting.
This was a good week. It was a really
week. Cool. Yeah, it was a really good week, and it was.
You
nice
can always tell how good of a week it is by how just butthurt the incels on wrestling.
That's true.
I mean, it's and then all the other people that like Mike hates on, like they're know, you can always tell it's a great week when they're just like, it never's got to be gimmick. It's like okay, sure I'm sure they're lying about making that much money, because that's what publicly traded companies do, is lie about their freaking profit, because that's good for their share prices.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it makes total sense.
Brad said, we need Hecklefish to come by and figure out why the women are booked so badly outside of Impact. That is quite the task for Hecklefish, but if anybody can figure it out.
I don't know. Hecklefish would be it would be a lot of fun to hear what he might think about.
Yeah. But yeah, and then and so and going back to Chris Statlander for a minute, so she had this really great match with Jade, and then the next night she wrestled Britt Baker last night. They got the main event. I mean, it was 12 minutes, not the normal 30 minutes that Collision gets, which as soon as that match was announced, I was like, oh, that's going to be Collision's. I was like, that's Collision's first sub 30-minute main event. I didn't think they were going to get 12 the way it's going. The way it was going, I was like, are they going to get even 10? I was like, come on. I was like, all this crap can wait till next week. Like, none of this stuff needs to be happening right now. Please get to it. And then, but they worked well in the 12 minutes. I did not think that Britt was going to win. I just don't feel like Chris is dropping that title anytime soon. Like, I don't think she'll hold it clearly, I don't think she's going to be a 500-day champion, but I was like, but they did make me a couple times. I was like, well, Britt is in her hometown. Maybe they do.
What honestly, I was very concerned, but then it made me realize actually when she got the win, I was like, actually that helps legitimize her run a little bit. Is that because Tony does usually give you home field advantage? Yeah. But in this case, it was a good place for her to beat her on her home turf.
Yeah,
because it helps to legitimize the run more.
I want to point this out because Brad pointed this out to me.
Also,
that was Britt versus Chris Statlander 3. Oh. Nobody really knew about that. They didn't, but when Hangman and Brian Cage, their third match, they had a graphic that had a 3 in the background. They kept playing it up. This is their third time they face off. The third time they face off. This is a big deal about it being the third time. Not so much with Britt and Chris. They
don't run the package. They're starting to do the packages now where they do the thing like they did the thing with Shibata or Eddie and Claudio. And I was like, cool, that's really cool. They're doing these like recap packages like we've wanted for them. Yeah. But they only do them for the men, really. I mean,
yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, they didn't build up that at all. Like they mentioned a few times, Britt Baker went to Penn State. She's from here. Like they mentioned it a couple times that they didn't.
But most of that was on Twitter.
Yeah, and that was another reason that I figured that she probably was gonna retain because they weren't force feeding that this is Britt's hometown.
Yeah.
Britt went to college here. Britt's in her Penn State inspired gear. Like they didn't they talked about it, but they didn't like cram it down your throat that like they typically do with it. Like they did with Saraya being from England. They kept saying, she's from England, blah, blah, blah. And so we knew. And so I kind of thought, I was like, are they gonna do with Britt what they did to Saraya and give her the moment? And I was like, or are they gonna keep the booking as it is and not throw it off just to give her a moment? And so, and like you said, it does kind of it legitimizes Chris even more because she beat her on her home turf in front of her home crowd. There were a lot of you could see the reactions for some of the fans. Like this woman, there was one woman they showed, and she was like legitimately shocked that Britt Baker did not win that match, and she just had this look on her because she probably was going in with the same thing. Oh, this is her hometown. This is they're typically hometown friendly, and probably thought that
maybe they didn't want to associate with Penn State's athletic department situation in the midst of Michigan State having similar problems. Yeah, and actually, Britt has a bad habit of forgetting things like the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback was
she wanted him in the women's locker room 2 years after speaking out. So
but beyond speaking, I mean, the guy's like he got in trouble for rape. So
that's what I'm saying. She wanted him in the locker room.
Can we try and remember? I mean, I'm just not sure that maybe especially with in college sports with Michigan State here, because we've obviously had problems. Larry Nassar. Now there's the football coach is in trouble for some stuff. Yeah. And so that just broke, and maybe probably leaning into a school that has
have
a bad history with ladies, especially wasn't so smart.
Yeah,
so it wouldn't have been the greatest PR move.
No,
especially on a Saturday when it's college football day,
right? And I will also just say some women just are not allies to other women.
Well, I completely agree with that. It's unfortunate. It's too bad, especially when it's someone that has a platform in the company.
Yes,
is that way.
Yes.
I'm
not even. And then we've talked about it before, but then you could also look at the women's champion and some of the things that she condones with her partner. So, but we've talked about that quite a few times on here. So, Daza says, "I wish they'd done the old Basham and Damsha, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, OVW thing by building the matches with shots of Britt and Chris arriving at the building and getting ready and the like and making their way to the entrance. That would have been fun.
Okay, but that
would require effort into the women's division.
Well, and Collision has that vibe already, so
and so they fit
right in there. One of the things I like most about Collision is it has that Friday night, Saturday night.
Yeah,
it really does have that vibe in a good way. It has the good part of the vibe.
That would have been really cool, Daza. I think that would have been awesome to see. That would have been a cool thing.
I miss the shots of people.
And I think that would have just added more to, especially because it was Britt versus Chris 3. You could go into, you could have played up the whole thing. That
you have to be thinking about it. I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to circle back to Impact 1000 just because there were a couple other big things that happened. Of course, this one is the one that made me the most excited besides the knockouts. Chris Sabin got the main event. He main evented episode 1 of Impact, and then he main evented episode 1000 against Lio Rush. Lio Rush won the X-Division title from him. What we thought was prematurely. Now I see what the big vision was. And so Chris Sabin won in the main event. He is the first ever 10-time X-Division champion. So that was just a really cool moment. And then they had, like, after he won, the locker room came out. It kind of cut off, so we didn't get to see a lot of it, but like the locker room came out and they were all like really hyped for him. And you could see it. Alex Shelley was like getting into the ring right before it kind of went off air, but it was just a really cool moment. And the match was fantastic. Like, I'm a huge fan of Lio Rush too. And I just really excited I was looking forward to the match anyway, just because I like.
I'm glad for him that he's finding something that's working.
Yeah, and just the match was great. And then it was I've retweeted some of the clips from the match, but like it was really cool because Chris did callbacks. He did one of Kushida's moves. I just blanked on what the punch is called. Then he did Alex Shelley's shell shock. Then he hit the cradle shock and it's to win. And they were kicking out of each other's moves. Like it was kind of a New Japan type of feel. Like it had like the false finishes, like Lio Rush kicked out of the cradle shock.
It's called Back to the Future, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And
I'm Chris, like, I know it. It's time spitters. It's their move.
Yeah, and so Lio kicked out of the cradle shock first. Chris kicks out of the final hour. They're doing the New Japan false finishes. Like, it was just a really great match. And I thought Lio looked great. I think that the two of them have a lot of chemistry. And I loved that match. And of course, if you guys have watched the show at any time or follow me on Twitter, you know that I'm a huge Chris Sabin fan. Love Motor City. So I was really glad to get that moment. And now I am less mad of the way that the original title of the original match went down. Because I didn't have an issue with Lio winning. It was the fact that it was just like the super quick match. It was like a 2-minute match, and we thought that maybe Chris Sabin got hurt, but then he was at taping, so I don't think that there was. But good. It was a really cool thing to see. So he's going to go into Bound for Glory as champion. Alex Shelley is still currently the champion, but he'll be heading. I believe that they have made him versus Josh Alexander, I believe, has been made official. So that'll be really cool. And then on top of that, the three of them, Josh Alexander and Motor City, are going to New Japan because Tanahashi put out a challenge to them for destruction that he's putting the trios titles up against Motor City and Josh Alexander, which I think will be and that's going to be an incredible match. I'm so excited for that. And I'm hoping it leads to more Motor City and I'd love to see Josh in the G1. Would be really cool.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if they'll do like World Tag League stuff with Motor City. They could, or if they'll just put them in, maybe they'll do BOSJ, which I would love to see them in BOSJ.
God, I think they need people, don't they? I mean, who's
going
to get in there?
Yeah, probably so. So I'm hoping that means they're going to be involved with New Japan more. I hope this isn't going to be a one-off thing. And it would be really cool to see like have Motor City and Josh win the titles, and maybe they have a Wrestle Kingdom match. Would be really cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, and so I'm very excited for where this could be leading. And Brad says, "Am I allowed to call Motor City our new friends after meeting them yesterday? I was gonna call them our new friends." I mean, you should. I saw the pictures on Twitter because I saw his pictures with Leva, and he's like, I also met, and I was like, oh, who else did he meet? And I was like, oh my god, I was like, he met Motor City. I have not met them before, and so I was like, good for Brad. I was like, I'm hoping Motor City. I didn't get to see Motor City when they were here with DPW because Nikki was still recovering from surgery. I'm still hoping we're getting Motor City versus Workhorsemen because Workhorsemen were apparently not, because they are the DPW tag team champions. Apparently they were not happy that they were not the ones who got to wrestle Motor City. So I'm hoping that happens and that they come back and then I get to meet Motor City then. But yes, Brad, cool. Sure. Why don't you call? I would call them my new friends.
Well, now we're Motor City adjacent because Brad's our friend.
Exactly, we are.
There we go. See, that's how it works.
Another thing I wanted to, right there. Yeah, another thing I wanted to bring up real quick from Impact 1000. So they brought back Feast or Fired, which is the match where competitors wrestle for 4 briefcases. 3 of them are, I believe 3 of them are contracts, and then one of them has a pink slip in it. So it's all this group is a really interesting group, and so we'll find out next week who got what in their briefcase. So the first briefcase went to Chris Bay, which was, and the way he got it was really cool. And then he did a dive outside the ring with the briefcase in his hand. I was like, I don't think he hit anybody in the face with it, but it looked really cool. And I love Chris Bay. He's one of my favorites. Then they got Crazy Steve won, and they've been doing some stuff with him. Like he's been doing some really cool sit down interviews, kind of explaining his character. And one really poignant thing that they did was he explained how suicide has touched his life through his mother, and how that kind of set him on a certain path. And he was just really open about some things, which was really cool to see. He seems to be doing some more stuff. And then they had, I'm trying to figure out, maybe Brad knows, Joya, who is it's Joe Hendry and Yuya. They are a tag team called Joya. So they entered the match as Joya, but Yuya is the one with the briefcase. So I assumed that because they entered as Joya, that meant that they both would be involved. But some people are saying it's just Yuya. So there's a little bit of confusion there. And so he had reportedly is done with the way it was worded in a tweet. Made it seem like Yuya is done with New Japan, but now some are wondering if this is how he goes back to New Japan, is if he has this. And then the 4th person that got the briefcase was Moose. So Brad says that it is just Yuya because he grabbed the case. Okay. So that's quite interesting.
You had to be the one with your hands on the briefcase.
Okay. Yeah. And so I was trying to figure out, because they entered together, and they entered as Joya. Like they did their entrance. They put it up as Joya. Like it didn't say like Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura. So that's why.
So that must be setting something up then.
So that was my confusion. So thank you for that, Brad. And so, so I was curious, because if it was Joya together, that I wondered if maybe it was going to be, and they still could do it. I mean, maybe it is Yuya and it's setting him up to go back to New Japan. But I was wondering if maybe it was Crazy Steve because of the character stuff they've been doing with him. Maybe this is good. And actually, Nikki said this too. Nikki is the one who talked about it. She was like, well, maybe it's going to be him. He's going to get fired, and then he's going to come back as a new character or a new version of like what he's doing. And like, maybe that's kind of it. And so
not crazy anymore, Steve.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe because I believe he said in the interview with Tom Hannafin, he was like, I'm not crazy. And so like maybe they're gonna get away from that some, but he's doing this really kind of like even more like evil character that he's been doing. So I can't really tell. Like I don't know if they're gonna keep him on the path that he's currently going, or have him have him get fired and then leave, and then he comes back at like Bound for Glory or something and as a new. So I was really, and I actually was kind of surprised, because I thought maybe one of them would be Heath Slater, because there's rumors that his contract is up with Impact. So, and he ended up being, he had it at one point, and then of course they're still fighting him, and he ended up losing it, and Moose ended up getting it. But at first I thought, I was like, oh, there it is. Heath Slater's got it. Heath Slater's going to be the one that's fired, and maybe the rumors must be true that his contract is up, and then it wasn't him. And then I was like, well, then I was like, who's it going to be? And so I was like, Yuya makes the most sense as far as if he is going back to Japan. But I don't know. So yeah, so Impact 1000 was a really good episode. I'm really looking forward to the second half next week, especially that big the big knockouts match. I can't wait to see. So there's a lot of good wrestling stuff this week, which is always nice.
I'm excited because Mike Gilbert from the Mike and JD show, if you saw at the beginning of our show, his co-host, was actually saying that he really enjoyed the show as well, and he was going to be doing Brace for Impact.
Yeah,
they do Brace for Impact on their Patreon.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. I need to subscribe to the Patreon, and I want to check that out, because I'm
going to have to too, because I'm going to want to hear them do overtime stuff. I'm definitely going to want to hear you guys talk about
yeah, for sure. So yes, but along with their Patreon, Viking Media has a Patreon.
What? Are you kidding?
Yeah,
it's right there, right at the bottom.
And if you're listening on audio, it is patreon.com/fightgamemedia. And generally, well, we do have an audio feed. However, that feed will be going away soon, and we will be on the $10 tier of the Fight Game Media Patreon.
6 weeks away, because it ends. I checked the date. It's about 3 or 4 weeks after you are visiting Mike and JD. We will be discontinuing the free feed that we have, and we will also be on the tier, because that's, all the contracts ran out, all the people shifted, and we're gonna put our full efforts into our Patreon, because and so it's fun anyway, because if you subscribe to our tier, you get to hang out with us on a Zoom call. So you can pick
there's
your favorite hosts, which are us, and
of course
hang out with us and have we call it happy hour, but it's really just
you can
hang out with us, and you can drink tea if you want. I mean, you don't have to drink anything at all.
Just come hang out, and there's all kinds of stuff. Like, I think Garrett has his show is over on I believe it's on the $10 tier. And then there's a $5 tier that has some good stuff too, and that's where you can find either way you will have access to Keela Cash on the wrap. So if you enjoyed her last week and you still watch WWE, then she is your girl. her and Scott do a weekly show every Monday morning. It drops. Yes, Daza, we will be staying on you. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
You're good. But yes, we still will be on YouTube. We will be doing our. That's not going to change.
We are the OG live show on this network.
This is true.
You will have a Powerbombshells.
Yes, we will be here.
Pending stuff we can't control, obviously.
Right. For the foreseeable
1 o'clock on Sunday, barring anything that's outside of our realm, 1 p.m. Eastern every Sunday, right here for us.
Yes.
We'll go up against the NFL. We'll go up again. We don't care.
We'll be here. Of course, you have our pre-P shows. It sounds like we're going to be doing 12 of those now.
Yeah, seriously.
If this Max rumor,
we're going to be doing 12 free pre-shows next year.
If this rumor is true about AEW moving to Max, because Max wasn't ready 2 weeks ago. It's like Bryan Danielson wasn't ready for All In, but now the All In is passed. They are ready. For live streams.
You know what it is, really? And I'll tell you, this is actually what people, I think, don't realize, is at the end of the fiscal year is at the end of September.
Right.
So making new decisions this minute is bad. It's the end. You don't want to, nobody's going to make any, this is the end of the, it's going to be next year in a month. For them, but financially. So for them, they're not going to do a bunch of crazy shit right at the end of the year, because it messes up your numbers. So it's wild right now because of that factor.
And my shoot job is involved in the music industry, and the labels don't spend any of the money that's made. They don't really start spending until the second quarter. That's why there's generally no new releases, except maybe Adele or Beyonce or Taylor Swift. That's where they make a bunch of money at the end of the year, but they don't start spending money until April, because that's when their new year starts.
And because Q1 sucks for everybody because of the timing.
Pretty much.
Retail is terrible that time of year, so it doesn't help the music because that's dependent on retail. Exactly. So it's silly.
So that's why you see that's where when artists are releasing music, or they release new singles in February, because they have an album coming out in April so that they can go on tour in the summer.
Correct. So that they can rake in all the money this time of year, because they're not going to have money. They always have money.
They always do. But that's how it works.
So that's they're using
that's your free entertainment lesson.
It's the kayfabe financial calendar that they get to use that actually runs all of our lives. We just don't realize how much it influences things, sadly.
Right. But so now with that, if they do go to the 12 pay-per-views, then I guess we will be having 12. I thought about that. I was like, I guess we have 12 pre-shows now. So you'll get a monthly pre-show from us, it sounds like.
You guys like us so much that you'll love it.
In addition to the ROH stuff, that ROH has their 3. I was like, are they just going to stick with 3 pay-per-views, or are they going to make them have I don't know. ROH needs some. I love them. I will not stop watching them, but they need some help too.
I don't know, but we might need to do like an ROH segment with you following them and them being so important and like. I mean, we talk about them anyway, but
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that might be something.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on over there that needs some attention and discussion. And but while we're talking about it, speaking of ROH, because that's generally where they are, I'm very excited that the Workhorsemen are getting a really big match next Saturday on Collision. They answered the open challenge last night. Could have handled the open challenge a little bit better. Maybe fans would not have been chanting "Who are you?" at them, which made me. I wanted to kick every single person in their shin when they did that.
And so, it's Pennsylvania. Like, go easy. It's a college town.
It is. I know. And that's on AEW.
They were probably
AEW could have handled that a little bit
drunk
better.
From the game earlier in the day.
Probably AEW could have handled that a little bit better. But Workhorsemen, I do believe that Tony is pretty big on them.
Good.
He put them when they were one of BCC's first matches when Blackpool first started. One of their first Dynamite matches was against them. Keith Lee's very first match in AEW on TV on Rampage was against JD Drake. So they clearly, Anthony Henry got demolished by Miro Collision on like episode 2, and now Workhorsemen are fighting for the tag team titles against FTR, FTR is from North Carolina. JD Drake is from North Carolina, while Anthony Henry is from Georgia. He wrestles a lot here. I have watched them at my former local promotion. I saw them as they were singles wrestlers for a really long time. I watched them both. Like Anthony Henry was the PWX World Champion for a year. He had some incredible matches with Tommaso Ciampa. It's a trilogy. However, there is a missing. I think it's the third one that's missing. Something happened to the file when they were filming it. And so that match is lost. The only people who saw it were us who were in attendance. But they had an incredible trilogy, and that's when I became a really big Tommaso Ciampa fan. 2 of those matches are on the PWX YouTube, and I actually think I'm going to try to look at some of the PWX YouTube because there's some Workhorsemen matches there. But Workhorsemen, they were also in Evolve, and they did a double show in Charlotte, and James Drake and Anthony Henry shocked everybody and won the Evolve tag team titles, and I was in the crowd for that. So that was like the very beginning of them, and so they've been together for 7 years now, I think, and they've been champions in multiple companies. They're currently the Deadlock Pro champions. I cannot say enough good things about them. I'm so happy. I'm hoping FTR, because obviously Nigel did point out, if FTR are still champions, they will be facing Aussie Open at Wrestle Dream. So I'm hoping that FTR is not overlooking their Workhorsemen to get to Aussie Open. That's not a great thing when people are like, oh, they're just gonna. I'm afraid that fans are kind of just gonna discard them. Like, oh, well, they're gonna get to Aussie Open. I'm hoping they get the time that they deserve. I hope that they get. So people know who they are. Like, and I know a lot of people don't, some people just don't watch ROH. They've been killing it. ROH. They've had some incredible trios matches. They've had some great tag team champion matches. Like one of the best tag matches this year. If you have access to ROH, I will find the episode number, but they wrestled Alex Coughlin and Shibata. And it was an incredible match, and it was the week before Alex Coughlin wrestled Shibata for the pure title, so it was kind of like a warm-up match, but God, it was really, really good, and they have been killing it in ROH, and they've been killing it on the indies, so I'm so glad that they're getting this spot. And I was very annoyed when they did not get to be in the tag team battle royal on Rampage. I was like, where the hell are they? But I'm glad that they're getting this spot, and I hope they get the time, and I hope that people don't chant "Who are you?" at them anymore after this match, and they'll see who they are. So I'm really, really excited about that. And another good thing this week, I know we're trying to wrap up here, is Darius Lockhart posted a clip on Twitter. It was a quip, which is why I went with the Darius Lockhart shirt today, because I think he might be on his way back.
Good.
Cannot wait. He posted, it was actually Brad saw it first, and he tagged me in it, and I was like, and he tagged me and Nikki in it, and Nikki saw it before I did, and she was like, oh my God. And I thought they had finally announced Motor City versus Workhorsemen, and she was like, no, and then I opened my phone and I was like, oh my god, it's Darius.
That's awesome.
I hope that means he's on his way back. Huge fan of him.
Me too.
So I'm very excited about that. Brad says Tony should just do Workhorsemen versus Violence is Forever best of 7 for no reason other than to entertain us. I'm on board with that. Violence is Forever has been down in ROH. They did a tag match. They both had Kevin Koo was in a trios match this week, and Dominic wrestled a singles match. So yeah, and Violence is Forever and Workhorsemen, they have a feud in DPW. They have changed titles. They've been feuding there for a while, so I would be down for that. If you're listening, Tony Khan. I know I complain about the women, but if you would like to give us something, then I will take Workhorsemen versus Violence is Forever. I will take Workhorsemen on TV. There's
no women in it.
There's no women. However, Workhorsemen did say that if they were going to have women in the Workhorsemen, it would be Emmy. They would want Emmy.
I don't blame them.
No, I don't blame them either. And then when Emmy was doing her series of learning English on Twitter, James Drake taught her the phrase "over yonder."
Oh jeez.
And it's so funny.
That's awesome.
It's great. And so I saw Drake a couple of months ago. He was here for Title Belt, and he was like, Emmy, every time she sees me, she will use "over yonder" in a
That's awesome. That made my whole day. A capped off a wonderful episode and a wonderful
yes. Oh, and you know what else will make your day is they are releasing. So Wrestle Revolver is doing a women's Grand Prix, which we'll talk more about once that gets a little bit closer. But they're doing, so it's an all women's show. It's a women's tournament featuring 8 women's wrestlers, and then they're doing a non-tournament tag match as well, which got announced yesterday. Renee is the special guest for this, because John wrestles in Wrestle Revolver fairly often. And Wrestle Revolver, if you have Fight Plus, go check out Wrestle Revolver. Those shows I love. Me and Nikki have been watching those shows the last few months, and they're great. But this is their first all women's show, and they're slowly announcing the brackets. And yesterday they announced Emmy versus Trisha Dora in the first round. I'm so excited for that match.
Yeah.
I
think maybe it's been long enough since my 7-day trial to start a new 7-day trial.
There you go. Yeah, so October, I believe that show was October the 8th, I want to say. I should know, I just wrote an article about it a few weeks ago, but I've been retweeting stuff because they did a thing, because like Marina, this actually will go back to what we've talked about with Marina and how they can use her and do things with her. Marina has been wrestling in Wrestling Revolver. They did this 4.5 minute clip of her. She apparently, it's of her, but it's with John Moxley. Apparently there's a Blackpool dojo. And that is where Marina has been working with John Moxley. So in addition to being married to Roddy Strong and having access to him and his neck health, she has access to Blackpool. And I don't know if she is. They kind of worded it like she's in Blackpool, but Bryan Danielson said he didn't want women in Blackpool, so I don't know if she's actually in Blackpool. But regardless, she's got that. And it was really interesting because they were like, who are you most afraid of? And she said Billy Starks, because Billy is young and she's hungry and she reminds her of her. But then she said she's also another person that kind of gives her pause is Janai Kai. And then they announced the very first match is going to be Janai versus Marina. Is also a first round match. So this is going to be an incredible tournament, which, like I said, we'll talk about more once it gets closer.
Yeah.
But so I'm really excited to see. And I think actually Emmy is defending her title. Deadlock Pro has a show tonight in Durham, which unfortunately we could not make it to. But Emmy is defending her title against Nicole Matthews, I believe. Cool. And so we love to see Emmy getting love everywhere.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, so I think that's all the surprising information that I had, because I was like, wait a minute, I forgot.
Good. That's good stuff.
I forgot. Yes. So make sure that you follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And
please subscribe to our YouTube and and comment if you can, because comments help us to
Yes, they do. And thanks for hanging out with us. We, especially if you were here from the beginning and you saw the conversation that we had with JD, if you made it late, I would recommend going back and rewatching that because it was great to have JD on. I will keep you guys posted on watching the movie and getting the playlist together. And then I guess, like, I think Mel had a great idea of posting the playlist so that you guys could you can listen to it. And we'll post links to the video trilogy as well. Nikki said show was so fire the alarm went off.
Yes. Yep, that's exactly right. Thank you.
This is fine. I thought I became that meme for a minute.
I was luckily, like, I don't want that. I do not want that.
No, luckily that did not happen. So yes, thank you for hanging out with us, and we're glad to have Mel back. And we will be here next Sunday at 1:00 Eastern.
We will be here.
And hopefully no fire alarms.